with the Miami Dolphins not playing this Sunday, normally you'd get a preview video today, but I'm going to give you my somewhat of a grade of the Miami Dolphins so far, being that we're at the halfway point. What is up, Finn fans? Gonna be giving you guys my grade of the Miami Dolphins so far at this point in the season. Now, we're at the halfway point, so I'm gonna give you stats, I'm gonna give you statistics, I'm gonna tell you how I feel about the team, and then we're gonna look towards the next 8 games and kind of an idea of what the Dolphins could be in for. So this could be an informative, hopefully, video with a lot of my opinion attached to it, like normal for my videos. But before we jump into that, I do have to shout out today's sponsor, and that is my man, Sean Seipler with Clean the World. I talk about him constantly. I'm very, very proud to be partnering with him and for him to be a sponsor of DouglieDoWrong. He makes these fantastic kits that I show you guys constantly with these bars of soap that he's well known for, repurposing soap that people don't use to give it to people who need it. Shampoo, toothbrush, toothpaste, and a pair of socks. He also has shower stations to help people in third world countries of need, natural disasters, all that great stuff. Click the link in the description. He has merch as well that goes towards helping people, and it's incredibly soft. So go check him out, cleantheworld.org. Sean, thank you for sponsoring this video. So we're going to jump into this. We're going to go into statistics. What we'll do is we'll go to full team statistics, and then I will give you individual statistics. As you could see, we have offense and defensive team statistics. And the Miami Dolphins are first in points and yards. They are 18th in turnovers. They have 13 turnovers on offense. They are 15th in fumbles lost, which isn't too bad. It's kind of middle of the pack. When it comes to first downs, the whole offense is third in the NFL with 203 first downs. First in passing touchdowns, 21st in interceptions. So that's low, which is good. We want that as a low number if my brain is working correctly. Net yards gained per passing attempt, they're second. And then you look at rushing, they are second in rushing yards, first in rushing touchdowns, and first in yards per attempt. Now flip it on the defense. Points for, they're not great, they're 25th. But yards, they're 12th, which is a huge upgrade. I don't know if I have an old breakdown. I don't think I do, because I tend to rip them out to look at the next week's. But they have gotten much better, a whole lot better when it comes to that aspect of it. 24th in turnovers, I expect that to go up. They only have 9 turnovers. 15th in fumbles lost, which is, again, middle of the pack, 5 and 5. 12th in passing, much better than it was, and 13th in rushing. Like after week 1 and even 2, we were struggling to stop the run. Huge there. So that's kind of the team aspect of it. There's also other team aspects, like the Dolphins have allowed 14 sacks, which is 26 in the NFL. It's on the offensive line, also onto a little bit. But let's go into individual statistics. Actually, you know what? I'll give you one more team statistic. When it comes to punt returns, the Miami Dolphins are number 1 in the NFL with punt returns against. Only allowing, tied, with Jacksonville, only allowing 50 yards. That has a lot to do with the fact that they don't punt a lot. They punt eight times, which is the lowest. Yards per return, the Dolphins are 6th. 6.3 yards per return. And then kickoffs, the Miami Dolphins are 25th, because they had that kick return for a touchdown, kind of hurt their stats on that one. So now we will get to the individual stuff. Now, Tua Tagovailoa at 2,609 passing yards is number 1 in the NFL. He has a 69.5 completion percentage. That is number 4 in the NFL. He has 19 touchdowns. That is number 1 in the NFL. He has 7 interceptions, which is tied for third most in the NFL. And he has 106.4 passer rating, which is number 1 in the NFL. So this man is number 1 in yards, touchdowns, and passer rating, and 4th in completion percentage. But some people still think he sucks. We need to move on from him. He can't win the big games. He's garbage. It's on him. When we lose, it's on him. When we win, it's not because of him. Logic. When we win, it's because of the coach and the weapons and the offensive line and the defense. Everyone else. When we win, everyone else helped Tua. Had nothing to do with Tua. When we lose, it's all Tua. Had nothing to do with the offensive line. Had nothing to do with the play calling. Had nothing to do with anything else. It's just Tua. Logic. It works. It doesn't work. Then we have Raheem Mostert, 605 yards, which is 4th in the NFL. 11 touchdowns, number 1. And he is tied for third with getting first downs. 32 first downs from him, which is pretty awesome. Devon Achane is 460 yards, which is 17th in the NFL. And he is tied for 10th in the NFL in 5 touchdowns. Let me put some perspective on that part. 460 yards. He is the 17th rusher in the NFL. We have played 9 games. 9 games. The whole NFL has played 9 games, and he is tied for 10th with 5 rushing touchdowns. He has played 4 games. 4 games. And technically, he's probably played 3 full, but I'm going to say 4 games. He has missed 5 games, and he still have those numbers. I can't wait for him to come back against the Raiders next week. Tyreek Hill, 1,700. Imagine already. 1,076 receiving yards is number 1 in the NFL. 8 touchdowns is number 1 in the NFL. And first downs, he has gotten 50 of them. And that is number 1 in the NFL. Jalen Waddle, 522 receiving yards is 26. 3 touchdowns is 27th. And first downs, 27th, which is tied for 18. He's off a little. Jalen Waddle is dealing with injuries. If it's not with his back or his abdominal or something else, he's been banged up a lot this year, so he's not 100%. Hopefully after this bye he comes back 100%, but he is banged up. And like I said about the offensive line, 14 sacks, which is 26, which is good. We're not giving up a lot of sacks, which is a good thing. Flip it on its head, the Miami Dolphin defense. We have quarterback hit 65, which is tied for first in the NFL. 29 sacks, which is 5th in the NFL. Pressure percentage with a 27.4, which is 5th in the NFL. Blitzing, we only blitz 24.1% of the time, which is 20th in the NFL. But we sack percentage, which essentially is the amount of times they've dropped back to throw, and we get the sacks. It's all division and math and yada yada. 8.8% of the time, which is 5th. So we blitz 20th in the NFL. We don't blitz a lot, 24.1% of the time. Vic Fangio has come out and said, I will blitz when I want to. But they are 1st in quarterback hits, 5th in sacks, 5th in pressure, and 5th in sack percentage. That's pretty good, if you ask me. And then we got the sack artists or the sack leaders on the team. Bradley Chubb has 6 sacks. I think that is tied for around 9th in the NFL. Christian Wilkins has 4.5. AVG has 4. Sealer has 4. Jalen Phillips has 3, starting only 4 games, playing 6. So he missed 3 games. He'd probably have around 6 if he played the full 9 games. Emmanuel Ogbah has 2.5. Jerome Baker has 1.5. David Long and Kader Kohu have 1 each. And then Eli Apple and Justin Bethel have a half each. And then our tackle leader is David Long, 63. Behind him, Javon Holland with 60. Jerome Baker with 52. I'll give you some statistics on third down. So third down, the Miami Dolphins are 17th in the NFL, converting 39.6%. On defense, they are 12th, allowing 36.8. That is a huge difference. Red zone, the Miami Dolphins are number one. 75% of the time they get in the red zone, they will score. On defense, they are 30th, 67.7. That needs to be cleaned up a little bit more. So overall, looking at this team, and I'm going to give you kind of my thoughts and opinions on what happened in the first half of the season, and then we will look at the second half of the season and what is coming up. It's an up and down roller coaster. Now, obviously, everyone and their mother comes out and talks about the fact that the Miami Dolphins haven't beat anybody, and they haven't beat anyone since week 1 or 2 or 3 of last year, and it's been 450 days, and who cares? Who cares? Who cares? All that matters is getting to where you need to go, which is the Super Bowl, but one step at a time, and it's the playoffs. Who cares? We go to the play. You think anybody really? I've brought this up, but let's take a step back. I bring up the 1999 Rams, greatest show on turf. When you bring that name up, you know what people think of? If I say to you 1999 Rams, they think of the Super Bowl where the Tennessee Titans receiver tried to reach for the goal line, couldn't make it, and the Rams won. They think of the greatest show on turf. They think of Kurt Warner. They think of the head coach. They think of all these other things, Torrey Holt, all this stuff. They do not think about the fact that they went 13-3 on that season, and those 13 wins all came against teams under 500. They don't think about that. What they think about is the yards and how crazy the offense was, the Super Bowl win, and how they stopped the Titans and the head coach and Kurt Warner. It's all they think about. So if the Miami Dolphins, let's say, I'm going to knock on some wood, say they run the gambit and they win the next 8 games, and they finish the season 15-3, and they get a first-round bye, and then they march into the Super Bowl, and they win the Super Bowl. Do you think anyone's really going to look back at what the Dolphins did during the season and say, well, they really didn't play many good teams? You know how I know they won't? Because they didn't do it for the Eagles last year. Eagles didn't play many good teams last year. Hell, their playoff run, they didn't play many good teams. They played the 4th string quarterback for the 49ers. They played the Giants. Come on. Like, let's be honest here. So that whole narrative of the Dolphins haven't played anyone good, who cares? I prefer to be 6-3 than 3-6 and say, well, at least we beat the 3 good teams we faced and we lost to the 500. But hey, that means we just got to do better in those categories. Take it, put it in your purse, and walk away from me. But looking back at the 9 games that we played, math, there's some up and downs, right? Started the season hot. The defense was not, but came back. Again, Tua can't put the team on his back and win a game. That narrative is the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. But the Miami Dolphins did it against the Chargers in LA. Then they beat the Patriots in Foxborough. Again, only holding them to 17, should have been 10. Only go man downfield, but hey, who are we going to talk about? Denver Broncos blew them out, and then the Bills game. And if you look at the opponents they're playing, right, the Buffalo Bills game was bad. We were neck and neck with them, 7-7, 14-14, and then Teron Armstead goes down. Their front four is getting pressure without blitzing. Our offense can't do anything, even though in the fourth quarter, it still was a game, but then it just got away from us. Then we beat the Giants, we beat the Panthers. Eagles, we all know about the Eagles game. Again, it was still a game in the fourth quarter. Regardless of the refs, regardless of the injury to our secondary, we were still in it in that game. Then the Patriots game, beat them again, and then the Chiefs game was recent. We all know about that. The offense failed us miserably. The defense played beautifully, but we were still in it. So again, people like to talk about the fact that we can't beat winning teams. We can't beat the 2 Super Bowl teams from last year and the Buffalo Bills when they were fully healthy. But we were in it. We're fighters. We fought hard. Again, look, optimistic Doug, blah, blah, blah. Just click off. So you're not going to like the way I talk for the rest of this, but we were in it. There's a stat that I want to show you that I find to be very interesting. And it's this stat right here. Now, what essentially you're looking at is percentage of throws to first reads and then EPA on throws to first reads. So essentially, this is up through week 8, the minimum of 100 dropbacks. This is the amount of times that these quarterbacks have thrown to their first read, and this is how well they do when they throw to their first read. Now, this is the league average. This dotted line right here is the league average. So this is the league average of percentage throws to their first read. All of these guys right here have a high average throwing to their first read. Daniel Jones, Ritter, Sam Howell, Tyrod Taylor, Deshaun Watson love throwing to their first reads. And even, PJ Watt, I think here, or Daniel Jones and Mac Jones, they're not very good when they do it. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't like to throw to his first read, and he's around the average. But my reason for showing you this is Tua Tagovailoa. Look at where he is. And you look at all of the people that throw to their first reads way more than Tua. Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford, Anthony Richardson, Joe Burrow, Kenny Pickett, Ryan Tannehill, Trevor Lawrence. The ones that throw it less than him are Justin Fields, C.J. Stroud, Kirk Cousins, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Jimmy Garoppolo, Russell Wilson. Seems like Zach Wilson's like a little further ahead. But he's the best at throwing it to him. So again, there's that narrative that Tua only throws to his first reads. Tua can't read a defense. He can't do it. Tua can't read a defense, and he only loves throwing to his first reads. Well, statistically, you're wrong. Does he do it? Of course, every quarterback does it. But I named so many more quarterbacks that are perceived to be better, and some are, than Tua, that throw to their first reads more than Tua. And they don't do it as well as Tua. So I wanted to bring that stat up because I think it's funny. But again, looking at the first half of the season, 6-3, I predicted we would be 6-3 going into the bye. And I actually got my predictions pretty spot on because I had us losing to the Bills, the Eagles, and the Kansas City Chiefs, and I had us sweeping the Patriots. So I wish we would have beat the Chiefs, and I think we should have beaten the Chiefs, but I'm not as distraught going into the bye because it's like I kind of saw this coming. Now that we're at the bye, looking at the second half of the season, we're getting guys back. Now, I don't know what's going on with Robert Hunt. I don't know. Isaiah Wynn's done for the season. We're banged up at the wide receiver area because we have Craycraft is banged up. We have Braxton Berrios is a little banged up. Tyreek is banged up. Like he's playing and he's going to play, but he's banged up. Jalen Waddle's banged up. And I'm hoping this bye week, like if you went and watched the injury report or heard the injury report from the beat writers from Wednesday, you would have had a conniption if we had to play this Sunday. The amount of guys who did not practice was huge. But they didn't practice because we're on a bye. They're getting rest. Teron Armstead and, Xavier Howard and all those guys, they were getting rest because we need them to. But after the bye is when it gets incredibly important. Now, we have 8 games left on the season, and 5 of those 8 games we play at home. And 5 of those 8 games, the Miami Dolphins, again, in the beginning of the season, are 4-0 at home. Now, if you go back and listen to the conversation me and Omar Kelly had, he brought up a very good point about the difference from playing at home and playing on the road. Now, when we played in Buffalo, in Philly, and in Kansas City, technically it was. We were in Germany, but like Omar said, there was way more Chiefs fans there than we thought it would be. It was a very hostile environment, and the Miami Dolphins weren't able to do their cadences, weren't able to do their snap reads, all that stuff on offense. They had to go silent counts because of how loud it was. Week 1 against the Chargers and week 2 against the Patriots, it wasn't that bad. Patriots, I don't know why, but Chargers, maybe because we took the wind out of their sails quickly, but the Chargers... That's not a home field advantage, if I'm being honest with you, especially a lot of Dolphin fans on that on the West Coast. But like Omar Kelly said, Tua likes, with those motions, when Tua is able to, call for his snaps, he knows how to do it at the perfect time for Tyreek Hill to get open, or Jalen Waddle, or whoever the motion man is to get open or to block. Because sometimes it'll be Ingold or it'll be Sturm Smythe in the motion, and he can hike, and then it'll be right in the perfect situation to block. Like me and Omar were talking about, you looked at the one against the Patriots where Jalen Waddle was butt naked open, and I broke it down in the film. Tua hiked the ball at the perfect time where the corner didn't know whether he was going to get Waddle or take Hill, and he took Hill with the other corner, left Waddle butt naked open. Now, 5 games. So worst case scenario, let's say we're sitting right now 6-3. Worst case scenario, say we lose the road games, the next 3 road games, and we just win the 5. We'll be 11-6. Yes, 11-6. That's playoffs. You're making the playoffs at 11-6. Now, will you win the division? I don't know. Buffalo has some hard games left to play. They got to play Kansas City. They got to play the Eagles. They got to play some hard teams coming up. So we'll see how they pan out. But worst case scenario, we go 11-6. We win all our home games and we lose the next 3 on the road. But you look at the quarterbacks that we're going to be facing with the Raiders, the Jets, the Commanders, the Titans, and the Jets again. This defense is starting to come into their all. This defense is starting to pick up on it, and especially coming into the bye now, starting to take on and understand and feed into what Vic Fangio is trying to give them. This is where they can get hot, and this is where they need to get hot, because that last stretch, those last 3 games on Christmas Eve against the Cowboys, on New Year's Eve against the Ravens, and then Week 18 against the Bills. That's where this Miami Dolphin team can shut up the narrative and prove that they are a playoff team. Now, I'm not going to talk about number 1 seed, number 2 seed. I just want to make the playoffs. I'd love to have a home field advantage. So I will talk about winning the division, which is still a very good and very real possibility, especially with the Week 18 game. But that's where we find out what this team really is. Now, again, you're playing the Cowboys at home. Dolphins are a different monster at home. And you go to Baltimore and you face the Ravens. That's going to be scary. Now, the last 2 years, we have won. 3 years. 2 years. Yeah, the Thursday night game and last year, week 2. We've beaten the Ravens. Now, the Ravens are a little bit better now. Will they be better week 16 or will they regress? I don't know. But that's a huge game. The Jets game for the next next 8 games, the Jets. Now we're facing the Raiders on Sunday, and then we have to go face the Jets 5 days later. It sucks. It 100% sucks that it's a Black Friday game. It's stupid. Then we play the Titans on Monday Night Football on the week 14, and then we play the Jets at home. 6 days. So we get less time to face the Jets both times. But the fact that we're home for those 2 games, I think, will really help the Dolphins. Whereas week 11, we're home, and then we have to travel to New York, New Jersey, for the Black Friday game. My biggest thing with the Jets games, if you score 14 points like the Chargers did, I feel like you have a good chance of winning that game, unless the unless the Jets somehow were like, Zach Wilson's not it, we're going to bench him and put their backup in. I don't even know who their backup is, but he could be better. He could be making reads better. He can be more decisive with his throws. He can be just a better quarterback. Then all of a sudden it gets a little bit more dangerous. But to me, looking at the rest of the season, you have to get to a minimum of 11 wins. So again, win all your home games, you're in. Win the next 5 opponents who are beatable in the Raiders, the Jets, Washington, Tennessee, and the Jets again, you're at 11 wins. You got 3 games left. These are all possibilities. And the fact that the Dolphins are sitting in this situation for the first time I've been a fan for 30 years. So for the first time in the past, 20-something years, to sit here and look and think that it's a real possibility for the Dolphins to get to 11 wins, possibly 12 wins, and win the East again is crazy. They just got to play hard and they got to play complementary football, because the Chiefs game was a prime example of the offense failing the defense. The Eagles game is a prime example of the defense failing the offense. And same thing with the Buffalo Bills game when they put 40-something up on us. The rest of the season is going to be very, very interesting. But overall, you're like, Doug, what the flip is your grade? The name of this video is the Dolphins grade. I give the Dolphins first half of the season a B+. I think their offense is number 1 in the NFL, regardless if it struggled against, the Chiefs and struggled a little bit against the Eagles and, didn't do much against the Bills because of the injuries. I still give them a B+. An A or A+ would be the fact that they would be like 8-1 right now and would have beaten the Eagles and the Chiefs and, would have, still been competitive in some other games, and the defense would have done better in some other games. But the fact that they are beating the opponents they should, but it's not like, oh, we beat the Patriots by 4, and we beat the Broncos by 6, and we beat the Giants by 3, and we beat the Panthers by 7. We beat these bad teams handedly. And that's what you're supposed to do as a good team. Now, I can't say that for other good teams, but the Dolphins are doing what they're supposed to. Now, do what you're supposed to for the rest of the season, but also show that you belong. So again, B+ for me for the first half of the season. Comment below. Let me know what you think of the second half of the season. What's your grade on the season? And I will see you guys Sunday. I think I got a video planned for you Sunday, and I'm going to recap Sunday's game after the Sunday night game. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But other than that, like usual, stay classy. Fins up.